Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Brown and Yellow Help a Fellow. Today we have me, Kayla, Tanea, Lucia, and Anna. Well, you guys have missed quite a lot since our first podcast. We've actually read about 180 pages. We're on page 200 of The White Tiger by Aravind Adiga. And today's podcast will spend recapping the past 180 pages, along with looking at the book through a Marxist literary lens, which is, will be explained further in the podcast. So, enjoy!
Okay, so we're just going to do a quick summary of what we've read last. So basically, our main character, Balram, he gets a job with one of the landlords from his village, who's the Stork, and he is working as a driver under the Stork's son, Mr. Ashok. And basically, he gets his job, and he's not only working as a driver, but doing a bunch of other servantly things, I guess, like washing the dogs and all that.
Yeah, which really wasn't in the job description, but they kind of had him do it anyway, and it was even expected of him. So,
yeah. And so he basically, later on, he finds out that this other driver that he's working with, named Ram Prasad, is a Muslim. And so he finds out that he's a Muslim and has him kicked out of the household, since they don't want Muslims working for them.
Well, it wasn't a matter of that. It was more like he blackmailed him and said he was going to tell them, and Ram Prasad actually took it upon himself and ran away, and he didn't come back. So they just said, well, you're runner-up, and you can drive them to Delhi for 3 months.
Yeah. And he was getting paid a lot to do that. So he becomes number one servant in the household. That's what Balram says. And so, yeah, they go to Delhi, and with Mr. Ashok and his wife, Pinky Madam.
We can go more into depth and talking about Pinky Madam and how she was.
Yeah, so she kind of treats Balram really poorly and kind of ignores him, whereas Mr. Ashok is kind of nicer to him. And basically the biggest event that happens with her is the incident with the car where she runs the child over.
Yeah, but before this incident, she wasn't really an emotional person towards the homeless or literally any poor person. She was more oh, Ashok, let's go to the mall, let's do this. And Balram, she would constantly say that he stinks, to the point where he said he had to get himself toothpaste for the first time. And yeah, but after the accident, she was more emotional, and she was crying to the point where Ashok gagged her.
Yeah, she wanted to go back and make sure the kid was okay, and then he put facial tissue in her and stuffed her in her mouth so she couldn't talk, and then dragged her into the elevator.
But yeah, basically she just runs the child over while she's kind of drunk driving, and she thinks it's a dog at first, but it wasn't, and so they had to keep her quiet so that she wouldn't make a big fuss about it. And then the next day, Mr. Ashok's brother is there at the house, and he tries to put the blame for the incident on Balram instead of Pinky, and Balram almost gets sent to jail because of it.
And then after, Pinky realizes that she's never going to go back to America unless she takes it upon herself. And she kind of flees in the middle of the night, having Balram drive her and not really telling him what exactly she was going to be doing. So she kind of just flew back to America and sent Ashok the divorce papers.
And did she also leave him a little bit of money?
Yeah, she left him a big package of money, and she had been wanting to go back to America for a while, but she realized that she probably wasn't going to, so she just left in the night and was wanting a divorce, I guess.
Yeah. And then we can fast forward to, I guess Ashok mourning his marriage. And I guess the great socialist, his not his employer. Oh my god. Okay.
The minister's sidekick.
The minister's sidekick tries to convince Ashok to get over his ex-wife and be with prostitutes. And Ballroom takes like personal offense to that, and he says on page 106, "My master doesn't do these things. He's a good man." Like, as if he were like his husband or something.
Yeah, he's also like, shouldn't I be the one with these women, not him? Like, he should be loyal and like he should be married with Pinky. But
how did you guys feel about that scene?
I kind of agree with Ballroom because to get with a prostitute is like going kind of. People cut that out.
I mean, I just thought it was weird that like this guy was just like so into like his personal business. Like, you should be doing this and this, but like I just thought it was really weird that he was. Yeah.
And I guess it was like all a move for politics, because like politics is also kind of heavy in the book. He was saying it would make you look bad if you were just divorced. You should hurry up and get with someone else.
Mm-hmm.
The woman that the man was trying to get Ashok with, wasn't she one of his old flames? Like one of like. No?
Oh no, that was
the lady that Ashok was with like before he was with Pinky.
Okay.
And the lady that the minister's sidekick he wanted to be, she was Ukrainian and she was like blonde, and he was like, "You've never been with like this person before," and yeah.
I think we should like get to the Marxist part. That's what I was trying to get with the politics. But yeah. Tanea, would you like to explain the Marxist lens and how it relates to politics?
It analyzes the structures of power in the novel, also regarding to the social and economic class.
I feel like the economic class that Ashok and Pinky Madam and all of those people are involved in really just like have zero regard for poor people. Like, if they're not rich, then they just act like they don't exist. And well, not really the opposite for like the people that Ballroom represents, because Ballroom is really at the end of that spectrum, and literally anytime that they're in the car with him, they barely acknowledge his existence, unless they're like, "Oh, what do poor people do? What do your people eat?" and stuff like that. So, what do you guys think of the economic look into the book? Like, how does money and power control certain aspects of the world of the White Tiger?
I mean, personally, I think like it plays back into the parts where like they're visiting like Laxmangar and like I don't know, like it was like Ashok's hometown, but like I feel like Pinky didn't have like that much like respect for it, or she just didn't like it that much. Mm-hmm. And also like going back to when she ran that child over, and like they were just like, she was just a poor girl, like no one really cares about her. And a quote from page 165 that I found really interesting was like, Balram's like, "The desire to be a servant had been bred into me. It was hammered into my skull, nail after nail, and poured into my blood." So I just thought that was interesting, and like I thought it really tied into like the Marxist lens, because he's talking about being a servant.
Yeah, and they kind of condition him to do like literally all of their work, even though he's not getting paid for like all of that work. Like honestly, he's working like 4 or 5 jobs. He's working as the cook, the driver, the masseuse, and like literally any other thing. And well, you know, he's not getting paid for all of that. So the question we can really ask is, which class does the book claim to represent? Is it aimed to represent the middle class, the poor class, or the like rich upper class? What do you guys think the book is there to represent?
I think that this is from Balram's perspective, and he's like, he was raised like poor, but he's, from his perspective, he's showing how the rich live and how he sees how they live.
I agree with Anna. It does. Since Ballum is poor, it does come from like poor.
What do you guys think the social class of the author is? Like, based off of the way the book is written, do you think the author is more like middle class, lower class, upper class?
Great question.
Because personally, I think he was sort of in Ballroom's position, as in like he was poor and became middle class. Yeah,
I can see that.
I believe that he was sort of in kind of like in Ballroom's like point at one, like he was in Ballroom's shoes at one point, and he worked his way up to like middle class.
I feel like he like bashes like the like, I don't know, like the higher classes too much for him to be like up there.
yeah.
So
Because that was pretty obvious.
yeah, and I feel like even like when they were talking about that scene like at the mall, and like that guy who was like aren't I human too? And he was like, and that one guy was like, if all of us were like that, we'd rule India, and they would be polishing our boots instead. So
Yeah. So like basically, he's a Marxist in a way.
yes, yeah.
The main reasoning we chose to use the Marxist lens to look at the book, well, the novel, is most of the themes fall under that lens. Like, it's more, their society is more of a dirty, poor versus the absolute rich. And the Marxist lens really captures that, along with like the politics side, the political side, like where Mr. Ashok and his father like help the great socialists win the vote by simply just giving him money multiple times in the book. Alongside our podcast, we also have a reader's companion, which is an article that also deals with, a current event looking through a Marxist lens. It is by Jeremy Corbyn, and it is titled "Brazil's Insurrection Plotters Are Trying to Destroy Democracy." And as you can see, this article heavily uses the Marxist lens. Even though we couldn't really get as in depth as we wanted today, we would like you guys to read this alongside our podcast to really get a feel of the Marxist lens. And it'll be tagged down below with our podcast, also with reasoning as to why it fits in with our book. So thank you everyone for choosing our podcast, and we'll see you next time in our final podcast. Bye!